Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Mary.
Welcome to Chatterbox Box, an F1 podcast.
Box.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chatterbox Box. I'm so happy to be here in person, live with my best friend, Emily.
We're here. We're in person. I hope you all are enjoying our in-person studio that Mary put together. We are so excited to be here. We are here for Monaco GP weekend, watching together, and we are having so much fun. And so we kind of wanted to try something new this weekend since we have more time to film together. And we figured that we would switch things up a little bit by recording our live reaction to quali and then recording our live reaction to the race tomorrow and just like stitching it together. And that'll be the episode. So we just watched quali and I have so many things to say. That was really chaotic. What did you think?
We were on the edge of our seats, I think, the entire time. I just kept saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I think Q1 was the most chaotic. Q2 was like a little bit interesting, but there wasn't a lot of fighting. And then Q3 was where everything was so close together. We hit the 110s and everyone was in like a tenth of a second within each other. It was wild.
It was really a lot to process. There was so much going on. The first quali session was just so chaotic. There were so many cars in the way. Every time you look, someone was moving. It was like so much. And it was always people you didn't expect. I'm like, K-Mac, Yuki, Alex, what's everybody doing? And it was just a lot of chaos, a lot to keep up with. I think we were literally shaking. It was also very fun to watch this and actually just glue to the TV. Because usually we are like texting each other, but we were like fully focused. I think my saddest part of the first session was the loss of Logan.
Oh my gosh, he hustled. He tried so hard. I think at one point he hit like 6th and then 12th. And then like slowly but surely he just kept slipping and slipping and slipping. And we kind of knew because Norris was at the bottom and he still had an outlap, but I was holding on to so much hope. He tried so hard. I don't love you, Dare.
He really did try so hard. I was so sad. He was so close for a minute there, and every time he doesn't get into Q2, I just worry. I just worry a lot about his future. Speaking of people whose future I'm a little concerned about, Checo!
I had to laugh because his race engineer went on the radio and was like, P18. And Checo was like, what a joke.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't he react like that? It was as if he was blaming the car, but Max was doing fine.
Yeah, I mean, Max was saying something about the car around the 2 specific turns. I think it was like turn 5, turn 10. So it seems like maybe the car isn't doing that great this season, but Echo, honey, I was a little surprised. P18, this is around the time last year that he started to really not do well, but he hasn't been doing this great at the beginning of the season as he was last season. Like last year, it was like back and forth between him and Max getting first place, second place, and I don't think he's been on the podium at all. So his downfall is a little worse, but it's similarly timed to last year. And I'm just very curious how the race is going to go. Do you think he's going to come in aggressively and try to climb his way up to, I don't know, top 10? Or do you think he's just going to take the P18 and go with it?
I think he will take the P18, be a little bit aggressive because he's under a lot of pressure, but I think he might hit a wall if he's so aggressive about it. If you're taking a look at all of the stats, everyone was like P10, P11,
Yeah.
and everyone was so close to each other. I imagining actually that if this is a trend going into the race, that we actually might hit a new lap record during the race.
Honestly, yeah, because we were looking it up. We were like, oh, they're going so fast in 1 minute, 11 seconds. And then they got down to the 110s. And we were like, wow. And then we looked up, like, what's the record for fastest lap in Monaco? And it's somewhere around 112 with Lewis Hamilton in 2021. Yeah. 2021. I would be very surprised if someone doesn't break the record this weekend because, wow, everybody was speeding along. That seemed like the McLarens are still on the up and up.
Yeah.
Still like really doing well. So that's super, super exciting. And the Ferraris thriving, P1, P3. I know there's a little bit of talk that Carlos might get a penalty for impeding and get bumped down a little bit. So uncertain about if that's going to happen. But I don't know, man. There's just something about Monaco quali that is so exciting. It feels more exciting than the race because it feels like it really sets the tone for the race because since they're so hard to overtake there, we're just like, yeah, okay. And I really want to talk about our pole sitter, but I also don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to jinx it.
I want to talk about him, but I don't. Just
Yeah.
because of that. But I will say the pole sitter's girlfriend, Alex.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She looked so
happy.
So supportive. She was like smiley, giggly the entire time. So I honestly think that she's not really worried. Like
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope no one's worried, but I'm worried. So I will not be speaking upon our pole sitter or expressing any sort of hope or joy or any positive emotion. I'm going to just try to put it out of my mind because I do not want to jinx him. But I think you all can infer how we feel and what we're hoping for. But I'm just not going to say it out loud.
As a fan of the pole sitter, I am elated. Whole race, everything. He looked so happy though. Like his eyes, his googly like blue, so happy. That's all I'm saying about that.
Yes. We don't really have a ton to say about the. So we don't really have a ton to say about the quali. We just kind of discussed on this new format, like what's our reaction the quali ended, and what's our reaction after the race tomorrow. So let's end off our quali segment just by talking about our predictions for tomorrow. Do you have any predictions?
I'm going to be a little bit unhinged. I think there will be more wall hitting, but because of the wall hitting, I think Logan is going to get at least a single point.
Not me screaming. Mary's dog is here, and she just looked up and bitch, shut the hell up. I would love every single second of that. I think that there's a really good chance that if Carlos doesn't get a penalty and he stays in P3 and Oscar stays in P2, I think there's a very good chance that there's going to be some drama. At the very least, we're going to get some petty radio messages about each other and they're going to be like trying to fight. I never want to manifest a crash, but they have so much beef right now that I'm kind of worried they might take each other out tomorrow.
I agree. I don't really want to think about it because I do love Charles's new child from Oscar. I am curious what you think about Pierre and Esty Bestie though, because Esty was going for it. He was snitching on everybody. He's like, he's blocking me.
Yeah, I don't know. We have Pierre in P10 and Esty in P11, and I think that's probably also going to be a war. I really hope Drive to Survive is in Monaco because the tea is piping hot in Monaco this weekend so far. The FPs were like really promising and encouraging, and quali feels good so far. Knock on wood. I don't know if this is wood, but knock on wood. I'm just feeling like this might be the end of the Red Bull domination.
I hope so. I think McLaren is doing really well. Ferrari is also doing really well. Mercedes,
a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah, I'm a little bit excited for that. I am not trying to give them a lot of attention because I do support Lewis and George, and I'm not trying to that bring any unneeded attention to that, but they're cooking.
Doing so well. Surprise sleigh from the Alpine boys. 10th and 11th is, I think, their best qualifying all season. So maybe they're making a comeback. We know Alpine had a really good time in Monaco last year with SD Bessie on the podium, baby. So maybe we'll get a Pierre Gasly on the podium, baby. Could be possible if Oscar and Carlos do, in fact, take each other out.
I don't even want to think about that.
I don't want to manifest that, but we do know about their beef. So yeah. I have some other predictions brewing in my mind, but like we said, we are superstitious and I will not be speaking them out loud, but maybe I'll write them down and tell you all if they came true. But yeah, I think that's our summary of the quali and our predictions. Do you have any other predictions?
Nothing I would like to say out loud.
Oh, yes. Same way. And we will see you tomorrow for the race. Bye.
And welcome back to another episode of Chatterbox Box, where Emily and I chat and giggle about all things F1.
We tried something a little bit different and split up our reaction to quali immediately after quali. And now we're talking about our reaction to the race. And I don't know if I even have words.
I know we live reacted.
We did live react. I think I was expecting us to have a bigger reaction of like jumping up and down and screaming because Charles Leclerc won the fucking Monaco Grand Prix. Like, what? I think I was almost in freeze. I could not even really react. It's actually very funny. If you go to our TikTok, you can watch our video of us live reacting. I was just crying. I was not expecting to be that emotional. I was just, wow. I don't know. It was just so weird because it was such a long race. We had that big incident in lap 1 that we'll talk about. But after that, he was just first and he like stayed first. And we were talking about this earlier. It was like not wanting to get your hopes up because anything can happen at any given moment in F1. So I was like not letting myself get excited. And then when it finally happened, the excitement was like not coming. It was just like the waterworks. I was so emotional. I still feel very emotional. I think we were both just not jump up and down screamy, shrieky type of people. That's not, I think we're a little stoic. But it's been a few hours and I'm just like, I think I'm in disbelief. I don't even know if I feel awake right now. Did that really just happen?
That's so valid. I am still in shock. I know all of my excitement was during lap 1.
Mm-hmm.
And after we had that whole red flag situation, I was like, I napped just a little bit because there was no movement and it wasn't as exciting, which for me, it was the best possible outcome. I wanted this to be the most boring race ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so sure that the drivers did not think so because they were thinking Carlos was strategizing this entire time. Yep. He was like, well, if we like do this gap, Lando's going to pit and then I'll have to fight for my life. Or if Lando does this, Charles will also be in trouble. I was like, damn, Carlos.
Yeah. We didn't really even hear much from Charles. I kind of think the vibe was like, just drive. The only thing we really heard him say on the radio when he was like, okay, I'm just going to bring it home. And they were like, thank you. Because he was kind of speeding up at the end, trying to like secure his win. And once he got to a nice 7-8 second gap from Oscar, he was like, I'm just going to bring it home. And you could hear the relief in his engineer's voice. I just don't even really have words to formulate what a meaningful win that must be for him.
Absolutely. Home race. Mm-hmm. He said he was thinking about his dad. Mm-hmm. He said, I think with 2 laps until the finale, until he hit the win, he had tears in his eyes. Mm-hmm. He was like, no, Charles, not now. Suck it up.
Yeah. We gotta drive, don't crash.
we had 2 more laps.
Clear your vision, please. You could just see it, the emotion in his body when he got out of the car and just, I don't know, it was just such a heartwarming moment. I love Charles Leclerc. I really feel deeply related to him, obviously minus the like hot billionaire part and the like living in Europe part. But I've also lost a lot of family members and have had a lot of streaks of time in my life where it just felt like never ending bad luck. So seeing someone win, I just felt so, I get it. Like when you've had that long streak of just like things not going well and life being hard, and then you get a win like that, and it just feels like all the people behind you that you're missing are like cheering you on from above or from wherever you believe. Like, shout out Charles Leclerc. I love that man. It was just great.
It was really great. He had his newfound son. It was a whole 1-2 situation. He had his family and friends literally on the balconies. He also had Alex there. It honestly, it couldn't have been a better environment and a better setup for a win that meant the world. It means the world for me. So I wonder, he must be ecstatic.
He must be. I hope that he has the time of his life. I'm so glad this was at his home race too, and he can just hang out at home for a little bit and chill. They don't have a race next weekend, just celebrate. I think everybody is so happy for him. Like, how could you not be? Oh, what a weekend. And he drove so well. All the commentators were saying masterclass in driving from Charles Leclerc because he was calm, cool, and collected all weekend, showed up, showed out, consistent results, just delivered and was chill, and I love that for him
too. And we obviously saw all of the hope in his eyes. Those ocean eyes were just glittery and shimmering the entire weekend.
It's like he had a sparkle in his eye and he knew something good was coming, and that's just like,
he probably got rid of his appendix somehow, like magically, without the recovery time. And he was like, "Look at me."
Yes. Other takeaways from the race. I'm sure we have so much to talk about. I could genuinely talk about Charles Leclerc's win for 60 minutes, but I feel like we have to talk about lap 1 because what was that? That was insane. I don't know about you, but I woke up way earlier than we needed to be up. The race was at 9 a.m. here. Why was I awake at 6 a.m.? Oh my God, it's the Monaco Grand Prix. I never missed the Grand Prix. I was so nervous. And I was just nervous the whole time. And then that adrenaline of the first race starting and then immediately stopping right away was like so jarring to watch as a fan. I can't imagine what it must have been like as a driver to get your heart pumping, the adrenaline going, and then have to like abruptly stop and get out of your car for 45 minutes, but maintain your like competitive mindset to keep the race going is so crazy to me. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I definitely think we have to talk about Checo and both of the Haas's. I was so confused because they didn't immediately show it, and then it went from Carlos not spinning out, but like Carlos getting a puncture from the little kiss with Oscar to like a yellow flag to a red flag, and I was like, but Carlos is off of the track, so I was very confused. And then all of a sudden, you just saw Checo's car completely annihilated. It looked like half of his car was gone. The Haas's were there. It was like a Haas sandwich. It was so bizarre to me. And then he just so casually got his gearbox out, got up, and started walking away. I felt that must have been like just the adrenaline pumping through him, basically from the initial start of the race to what the fuck just happened.
Yeah, I am so glad he's okay. That's a big testament to all the work they've done with safety in F1 because that car was just down to the bare minimum and it was really scary. And I found myself wondering, I hope his kids aren't there. I hope his kids aren't watching. But he did get up and walk around really quickly, which would have assured any worries if they were watching. I do know K-Mag's daughter was there. They posted a picture together in the garage, but his car definitely looked less like scary. I could imagine like Checo's young kids seeing that. Like I would be losing my mind if that was my parents. So that was so scary to me. I'm so glad he was okay. And I just feel like we never see a Red Bull get involved in like a crash like that. So I was not expecting that, and we were just like, "Whoa, what happened?" And just so much happened in that first lap. I don't even think we really realized until 20 minutes later that something happened with the Alpines. And
the beef was strong.
The beef, man. The beef. Wow. I still don't even really understand what happened because I feel like they kept talking about like the Checo and Haas situation and then the Oscar and Carlos situation because then like Carlos got sent back to P3, so it didn't really impact him. But I still don't really understand what happened with Alpine. I just know that people are really, really upset with SD Bestie. I saw Alpine issued a statement. I had to pull it up, and they said there will be consequences. We're going to make a tough decision. And I don't know. Both of their contracts are up. Yes.
Yes.
So that's a big public statement to make about one of your drivers.
I am very curious about that. It didn't seem as serious as people made it sound.
Yeah.
I know that Bestie Bestie was just a little bit aggressive, especially because Pierre, I don't think, would have had enough room to try and avoid his teammate. And you always have to be careful around lap one because everyone is hustling. I'm curious if there was also something else in the background that maybe we're not aware of as fans to cause such a reaction like that. I know it was serious because obviously Esteban turned out like he was out of the race after lap one, and so were Checo and the Haas's. But it honestly didn't seem like it would have warranted such an angry response from the team. Yeah, well, he even posted on his Instagram story, today's incident was my fault. The gap was too small in the end, and I apologize to the team on this one. Hoping for a deserved points finish for the team today. So I feel like they must be really, really mad at him if he's like publicly apologizing. I thought that they were cool this year. Like I thought they kind of squashed their beef. I keep seeing their girlfriends hanging out and like posting pictures together. So I thought they were cool. I think maybe I was naive because they clearly are not cool like at all, which makes me worried about his future in F1. Yeah. I think Pierre and Essie Bessie need that large getting along shirt. So unfortunate. So unfortunate. We also predicted the Oscar and Carlos situation. We posted on Threads yesterday saying, essentially, does anyone feel like they're going to take each other out tomorrow? And then today they did. I mean, not really. They both finished the race and it was fine. But for a minute there, I was kind of worried. I think I heard some of the commentators saying that Carlos would start at 17. And I was like, no. But then he, like, the restart was just literally, him back in third, which made me very, very happy. Yeah, I'm glad he didn't really get like super penalized for that. And they both were able to just finish the race chill, have a chill time. So it was really boring after lap one, but that's what we asked for. I think we wanted a boring race. We wanted it to be essentially just like a slow parade, keeping all of the quali numbers the same. And that's pretty much what happened. And I'm happy for it. I'm so glad that the Monaco curse is over. Yes. The only other thing I wanted to call out was the fact that Logan did pretty well. Yeah. In comparison, as Logan defenders, he was able to overtake, I believe it was Joe Bonnieu. Yeah. And he was 15th, 16th? 15th, 16th. And I posted this on Instagram. Due to a shortage of parts, Logan Sargent had to race with the 2023 rear wing. Even despite that, he was faster than Checo. When Checo was still in the race. He wasn't in it for very long, but amazing. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I am impressed. Also, during that whole red flag, there was this moment in time where they panned to Logan and he was talking to maybe his race engineer. I don't really know. Someone from the Williams team. And after they finished their conversation, Logan just had like a whole hair moment. He just looks so good. Like I think his confidence is slowly getting back to the point where it used to be because he seemed very reassured. Yeah, I mean, I hope that they feel a little better about him. I know he did kind of finish in 15th by default because there were 4 people out, but we're going to count it. Slay for Logan. I'm going to count it for him. I love this for him, honestly. We also had, in the week leading up to the race, we had some fun, exciting, weird little news moments and news and lots of team principals being petty. So let's start with that because what is going on? So we had Zach Brown talking about Max, and he said, I think there are 6 or 7 drivers on the grid
who would be world champions with the Red Bull. As great as Max is, I don't think he would win the world championship in any car other than the Red Bull at this point.
Is that petty or is it just being honest?
I think that's a valid opinion. I'm just surprised that he publicly announced that.
I respect Zach Brown a lot. I think he might have some very hot takes that other team principals might. Well, he's not a team principal, but that other people from other teams might not have the balls or the guts to do. And he just says things as they are, and I have so much respect for him. We say this all the time, whether it's off camera, whether it's just between us, that if everyone was given the same specs as Red Bull and they just tweaked each driver's car to their own personalized driving style, I think we would have more competition. And I don't think Max would have, and we don't think Max would have always gotten pole position.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing a little bit more of that this year. We're seeing that the other teams did step up their cars. It feels like a little bit more even playing field. It feels like the Red Bull, the Ferrari, and the McLaren are all on equal footing this year. So I think we might actually continue to get a really exciting season. That's 2 wins for Ferrari now, 1 win for McLaren, and the rest obviously have been Red Bull. So I don't know if he's wrong, but
I don't think he's wrong.
Bold statement.
Very bold.
I also always call him a team principal and forget that he's literally not the team principal.
He's literally the CEO.
But he might as well be the team principal,
Yes.
honestly. The other fun team principal, or I guess the only team principal statement, since Zach is not a team principal, is from our man, Freddie V, our icon, our mob boss, our king. He was asked about if the Mercedes have made any progress this year. And he said, the Mercedes? They were 28 seconds behind Charles at the end of the race. So, yes, I think they got a little bit closer.
Just a little bit. I do think that this race for Mercedes really did highlight their improvements.
Yeah.
For George to focus on preserving his medium tires and also being a complete troll to Max with, I think, an almost 20-second gap
at points. Yeah.
I was giggling in my seat, and I think there were points in time where we also thought that Lewis would overtake Max. They were very close together.
Yeah, I don't really know what he was doing. It felt like part strategy, part trolling, and I loved every second of it.
Absolutely. I know it was part maintaining the tire, part let's give people a little bit of room for pit stops, but Lewis wasn't ahead of George, so that whole pit stop strategy would have supported both Ferrari and McLaren. So that felt very much trollish.
Right. Yeah, because there was something with the Aston Martins. I think Fernando was keeping a similar gap, and then it allowed Lance to come out of the pit stop really well and well positioned. But I don't know, maybe George was just trying to help out the McLarens and the Ferraris. I don't know, maybe he's secretly a Ferrari girly like us. Don't really understand what was happening there, but I loved every second of it. We also got, I meant to say this when we were talking about Esteban, so I'll just bring it up now. You know what was going on with Esty Bestie this weekend? He has the Drive to Survive camera team with him.
This is confirmed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We were literally just saying this. If the DTS crew were not at Monaco, we would have missed out on so much tea.
Yeah, but it's just so funny they happen to be with one of the people who got in a DNF situation. So very funny to me. Very, very funny. We also have some news about Andretti.
So Andretti, I found a news article where the title essentially was Liberty CEO says Andretti Cadillac F1 entry will never be granted. There are some hot takes here, and essentially it was said that back in January, Andretti was declined commercial rights holder for being a part of F1, Andretti has been trying to push for getting an extra seat for Formula One. They have a whole like headquarters in Silverstone. Yeah, somewhere in Europe. They are extremely serious. And now it just seems like there is a little bit more beef to the Andretti situation than is warranted, because there's many ways that Andretti can come into the fold of Formula One without adding an 11th team. And for the Liberty Media CEO to say it'll never happen, first of all, what can Liberty Media actually do? Because wouldn't that situation come into play with the FIA and like the actual governing like body of Formula One? Liberty Media, while they own the rights to the entertainment portion, they don't necessarily own or can say yes and no to new teams coming into play. But again, you can always buy another team, maybe Aston Martin, maybe Alpine, maybe even Haas. Haas is a very serious contender to a collaboration, I believe, because Gene Haas is American. That is probably the most American team right now. And Io is surprisingly a very good team principal at the moment. It seems like the strategies with Nico and K-Mag are going very well. And I think that is a very easy transition to jump into.
Yeah. It's weird to me, the outright resentment and hatred towards Andretti. I'm like, what did Andretti do to these people? Because he's like catching strays left and right every single time he's mentioned. I feel bad for the guy. And it's just, I don't know, it continues to not make any sense to me, because this is a sport that is contemplating a fourth American race in Chicago, but is continuously turning down this American team that is super eager to join the grid. So it's just a little weird to me that they want to profit off of American fans, but not like bring in an American race car company to like vibe with that. I don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's also very interesting to me because I worry, or I'm not worried, but I'm curious if the beef is more so with Cadillac and not Andretti, because Andretti has deep racing history.
Right.
Like I don't remember who it was, but the OG Andretti man, he was part of Formula One. Like there are Formula One roots, whereas Cadillac, they've done other races, but you don't really hear a lot about them. And I might be wrong, because Formula One is truly the only motorsport I am fully committed to, but Cadillac is not a brand that I would connect to motorsports or racing. I think it's a brand for old people and retired folks. Like if they had done Chevrolet Corvette, that would make more sense.
This is like speaking a different language to me. I don't have these like car biases that Mary has. I don't know if anybody really like refers to Andretti as being associated with Cadillac. It seems like the beef is with Andretti, because all the news articles are like about Andretti specifically. So I don't know, but it could be the Cadillac part. I don't know. Maybe we'll see them come in one day. Maybe not. The other thing I wanted to talk about this weekend was this little bit between Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri Leclerc. I think this is so funny. They're really committed to the bit, and there's nothing I love more than when someone is really committed to the bit. And it is just very hilarious to me. So if you haven't seen it, Oscar tweeted looking for some Monegasque roots that I can trace back to in my family. And Charles was like, well, I can adopt you if you want. And then he changed his name on Twitter to Oscar Piastri Leclerc. And then F1 started running with it. And they were putting Oscar Piastri Leclerc in all the graphics on their social media, which I thought was so hilarious to me. Also, Lando and Carlos like kind of tried to get in on it. Like Lando was like, Carlos, why haven't you adopted me yet? And Carlos was like, I'm not ready to be a father. And Lando was like, it's too late. And then he changed his Twitter name to like Lando Norris Signs. So enjoy this little McLaren Ferrari like bromance, like familyhood thing that's going on. It's very wholesome to me. I love it.
Absolutely. I love it so much. And I think this bit is very successful because of who Oscar is and what he has done with his tweets all over. I don't remember specifically. Obviously, he claims Australia, but there were other countries that he's been to, and he's oh well, I'm like a 10th or a 16th of this, so this is also my home race. Yeah. So now he's been to his third home race. He's won second place, and I just love it. I think the other thing that I find so amusing, I think it was Oscar's mom or someone like that. Like someone from Oscar's family.
Probably his mom. We love Nicole.
Yeah, yes, it was Nicole. And she tags Yuki. And I think there's an opening in my family.
Of all the people to pick, her picking Yuki is so iconic. I just love that. I actually feel that they have weirdly a similar sense of humor. It's different, but it's similar. So I love it. Yes. I also love how F1 as a brand is really leaning into this like internet joke of Oscar Piastri Leclerc to the point where they're using it on their social media, like the official F1 social media, and like ESPN are using Oscar Piastri Leclerc. And it just makes me giggle, like thinking about all the traditional fans who are unwelcoming to new fans and are like, this is a serious sport. And y'all are coming in here acting like fangirls and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm sorry. This is a serious sport. The same sport that is running with this internet joke and like posting it on their official accounts. The same sport where the commentators, how many times do you think the commentators this weekend talked about how attractive the drivers are? Nonstop. There's so many comments about how Charles Leclerc has beautiful eyes and he's so handsome. And I heard this over and over and over again. So like, stop coming for the girlies. The call is coming from inside the house.
Absolutely. Although I will say that even with Formula One, ESPN, and the admins of the team accounts jumping into the bit and leaning into the internet memes, I find it just a little bit cringe. I want this to be an inside joke for the fans. Yeah. So I hope that they don't continue to do it. Yeah. But this was the perfect gateway.
Yeah, that actually is like a criticism a lot of people have of the team admins. Like sometimes they take it a little bit too far. I don't remember what track it is, but you know how all the tracks have their own social media accounts? One of them was tweeting jokes about like how Checo sucks. Or TikToks or something, like some sort of social media post about how Checo sucks. But it was coming from like the verified official track account. And people were like, what are you doing? This is like a legitimate official account. So sometimes I think maybe the admins and the higher ups lean a little bit too much into fan culture and break down the barrier of their administrative nature. There's a balance, okay? So that was all the funny news. The only other news I wanted to talk about is just our general thoughts about Carlos Sainz and where he's going next year. Because I heard a big to-do this week about him going to Williams.
I feel like no. I think there's still so much talk and there's so many rumors going around that I can't take any rumors seriously. I think Carlos is holding all of his cards very closely to him, and there's a lot of negotiation. I think the only way for Carlos to actually go to Williams is if he can become chief strategy officer, chief hardware engineer, chief race engineer, chief designer. He's going to become the next Adrian Newey. And he's also the first driver, and he's just going to take over.
Honestly, I think even that wouldn't be enough to send him to Williams. I just feel like if he's going to go to a team that's that low on the grid, he might as well just go to stake and wait for them to become Audi. I don't understand the thought process behind this rumor. And everybody was saying this week with certainty that Red Bull will 100% be re-signing Checo and not taking on Carlos. And I'm just like, you sure about that? After this weekend, because that P18 quali, I know the crash wasn't his fault, but P18 in quali was pretty bad. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Red Bull did think they were moving forward with Checo, if they decided to revisit that idea. I know Red Bull seems to be a place that wants to put Max first, but I think now that we're seeing a little bit more genuine competition at the top of the grid, they may reconsider just having such a clear first driver, second driver situation. They may want to even it out a little bit because at McLaren, both of the drivers are really good. At Ferrari, both of the drivers right now are very good and will be very good. So they may not want to have such a disparity because they probably want to compete a little bit more with those teams. I would think. I don't know.
I agree. I think last year it made a lot of sense to re-sign Checo because it was a very clear Max is the first driver, Checo is the supporting driver, and they've maybe swapped one or two races where Checo won first. But now I don't think Checo has won a race, and I think he's maybe done pretty well, like second. It was a Red Bull 1-2.
Yeah.
But the past couple of races have been a little bit hard on Checo. It's very clear that Red Bull is no longer a dominating force. And I'm not going to speculate on why that is. I'm sure there's just things that are changing up and they're trying to experiment, but it's not completely working out well. And Max is just such a good driver. I know we don't really like to talk about Max here, but we're very aware that Max is a good driver. And a good driver with a good car is great. But at this point in time, I think Red Bull is going to prioritize a consistent Red Bull 1-2, Red Bull always on the podium. And this season so far has not given us that consistency. And Red Bull is obviously a very competitive team. And I think that's why they may be reevaluating.
Yeah, and that would make complete sense. So I'm eager to see what happens there. But I'm going to say I would be absolutely shocked if we get Carlos to Williams. No hate to Williams. We like Williams here, but I just don't see it happening.
It's a good starter team for if you're a new driver, if you want someone to be somewhat supporting, you might go there.
Yeah.
Logan.
Period. But definitely not for someone who's 10 years into his F1 career. I think that would be a major, major downgrade. And he would be better off to take the risk to go to what's going to become Audi. But yeah, I think that is all of our thoughts for this race weekend. It was one for the books, one that I will always remember, one that I hold near and dear to my heart, especially because it was our first race that we got to watch together live. I was telling Mary I'm a little concerned that we might be Charles Leclerc's good luck token, like the two of us being together. So if that's true, Charles, and you want to hook us up with some fast transportation to get to each other every weekend, we happily will do that.
Like, call us up. We have dogs for Leo to be friends with.
Just saying. And I will be wearing this like little Leclerc jersey to probably every single race from here on out because that may also be lucky.
Yes, and we may be trying to find a place to do impromptu Charles Leclerc tattoos.
I mean, maybe. I wouldn't say no. It may be fitting for us. We may need it. So stay tuned. If we do, we'll post about it on Instagram and TikTok and Threads.
Yes, everywhere.
Yes.
Please let us know what you guys thought about the Monaco Grand Prix. Were you crying? Were you at the edge of your seat? What did you feel when Charles crossed the finish line? Let us know on, I was about to say Facebook. Let us know on Instagram and Threads at ChatterboxBoxF1 or on TikTok at ChatterboxBox. box.
Yes, and let us know how you felt about this format of like splitting up our reaction to quali and then our reaction to the race. Did you like it? Did it feel like a little off? We haven't seen it all the way through to know how it feels yet, so we would love to know. We're back from the editing room because we realized we forgot about bingo again, but it's actually very important that we include bingo on this week's episode because we have 2 things to check off. And so, as you all know, you've been keeping up with our bingo. I won't reread the whole board to you, but we have 2 things to check off today. The first one is driver wins their home race. When we put this on the bingo board, I was not thinking it was going to be Charles. I thought we'd probably just check it off for Max.
Oh, I was rooting for Oscar.
Oh.
Like an Australian win.
Okay. It didn't even cross my mind to hope for Charles, and now I know Delulu is the Salulu, and we should have been expecting that this whole time. So that is so exciting, but even more exciting, we finally are getting our first bingo because we are able to check off Charles finishes in Monaco.
OMG.
We were just aiming for finishes. This motherfucker won in Monaco. Okay, Charles. So we got bingo because we have Lando JPEG content, Max Templa second lead, non-Red Bull win, Charles finishes in Monaco, and influencers in Miami again. And that gave us a bingo. So we are so excited.
I'm so happy. I guess the next question really is, do we continue forth or do we create a brand new bingo?
Yeah, we only have 12 more spots that could be filled. We could easily keep going and see how many bingos we can get. There are 4 more bingos we could potentially get right now, like pretty easily. And otherwise they would be a little hard. So let us know what you think. Should we do a whole other bingo spread or just keep going to see how much of this we could fill?
I would love to see this as filled up as possible, but I know it's not possible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, truly, for real now, thank you so much for tuning in. We will catch you in the next one.
Let's finish it off on a high.